Okay, so today I am sick. Last night at around 9 p.m., I started to feel a little tickle in the back of my throat and in my nasal passages, especially. And I was like, oh, shoot, I'm getting sick. And I was a little bit frustrated because I was like, I've been sick recently, too recently to be sick again. And I'm on the carnivore diet. So I eat exclusively meat or meat products. There are a few exceptions, and those exceptions maybe are the reason that I'm experiencing what I'm experiencing. Nicotine gum is one of them. I have found that nicotine improves my life via alertness. I like being alert, and so I use it throughout the day. It's not like smoking. And I want to say this as a person who smoked from the age of 12 until about 26 when we had my oldest son, Silas. I didn't want him to see me smoking cigarettes. And so I switched over to vaping. There were some benefits to vaping that I really liked. And so I vaped from the age of 26 until 2019. And I'm bad at math, especially while I'm sick. And so basically I vaped, and the benefits of vaping was that there were no known issues with vaping, like as a secondhand vaping. So I was able to vape in the house while I read books, and that was nice. So my kids grew up seeing me vape, but not smoke cigarettes. And I thought that was a win. You can think whatever you want about it, but I vaped until 2019 or early 2020. And I had weaned myself down to zero nicotine. So all I was doing with vaping was just the oral fixation, the physical habit of bringing it to my mouth. And right around the time the pandemic started, I was working from home, and I had a thought, like, what would happen if I just quit? I was moving into a fast at the time. I was really into fasting, and so I thought, you know what? Every time I fast, I don't think as much about anything else as the fact that I'm hungry. So I decided I would put the vape down. I put it in my sock drawer with the fluid in case I wanted to come back to it, and I just thought, we'll see what happens. Couple of days, couple of weeks, couple of months, no vaping. And my wife didn't even notice that I wasn't vaping. But there I was not doing it. And I realized, okay, no nicotine, no nothing. And I went that way for quite a long time. So zero nicotine, no vaping. I left the fluid there. I did eventually get rid of the mod, which is the thing that you use to vape with. It's called a mod, apparently. I got rid of it because I realized I wasn't a vapor anymore. And so in doing that, I was nicotine free for basically 4 years. And then I started doing the traveling life of a book salesman. Coming back from, I don't think I was doing it as recently as Lubbock, but it was right after Lubbock. It was a show I went to. Lubbock was 12 hours, and I was so tired I had to stop and sleep. There were all kinds of issues there. And so the next time that I was driving back from a show, I went ahead and I grabbed a canister of the nicotine pouches by Zyn. And I popped one in, and immediately, from tired to just like, woo, I'm here, I'm ready, I'm alert, I'm thinking, I'm feeling good. And so from then on, I have been using nicotine in some form. I did pouches for quite a while, realized that I actually prefer the gum. I like to chew. So I'll have a piece of nicotine gum in, depending on what I'm doing for, hour, 2 hours. I can take it out if I'm tired of chewing, if my jaw is tired. And sometimes I'll go 6 or 8 hours without any nicotine gum. And then I feel like I'm falling asleep at night when I'm sitting down on the couch reading, and I'll throw a piece of nicotine gum in, and boom, I'm alert again. What I want to say is that I'm aware of the fact that my sleep schedule, my alertness, my awakeness is kind of dictating or dictated by nicotine. So I've been thinking recently about trying to get off nicotine again and see, like, how much is my sleep schedule, like, is the soundness of my sleep affected by the nicotine? Am I actually getting worse sleep because of it? So that's one of the ways that I cheat. I cheat with coffee as well. And we're talking specifically dietary things right now. So for those of you who are writers and are thinking about hacks, I'm talking physical. This is what happens to me. I use coffee in the morning. So I get a fairly generous pad. When I talk about a pad, I'm talking 4 tablespoons. So 400 calories of butter, throwing into my coffee. I put it in the blender, blast it. And that blast incorporates the butter into the coffee. It's very delicious. I use salted butter, so it's a little salty. It's coffee, it's caffeine, very much wakes me up. In fact, I have a little bit left right now at the time of 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. I like caffeine. I like coffee. Coffee is a delicious taste. I like fluids. I have been, for as long as I can remember, a fluid-oriented person. And so I used to drink a 12-pack of Dr. Pepper every single day. And I would have an emergency pack of Dr. Pepper cans, because bottles are gross, cans of Dr. Pepper in my car. I had a 1986 Toyota MR2, and I remember I used to have a 12-pack of Dr. Pepper sitting on the seat. I would bring a refrigerated one into the car with me wherever I was going, and if it was a longer drive, I would break into my emergency pack and have a room temperature or warmer Dr. Pepper, just because I so much love Dr. Pepper. So caffeine has been a big thing for me all of my life. Coffee, I don't like tea, but I'll drink it if I have to. Really like caffeine. I'm a fan of mind-altering substances. Caffeine, Dr. Pepper. There was a long period of my life where I used alcohol liberally. It opened up for me a side of myself that was a little less inhibited, and I liked how I felt when I did it. And so all of those things have been a big part of my life. The other area where I'm cheating right now off of the carnivore diet, and it's probably the biggest one that I'm thinking about moving away from, is Kratom. I've been using Kratom for the last 3 months pretty liberally, once a day. So I get the kids ready for school. I help my wife get out the door for work, and I do all my stuff. And then when they go, I get my tumbler and I fill it with 2 heaping tablespoons, and I'm talking heaping, packed in there, heaping tablespoons of Kratom. And I shake that up and I get a can of Diet Coke. And what I like to do is I take the tumbler and I take a hit of it, and then I chase it with Diet Coke, and I take a hit of it and I chase it with Diet Coke, and I do that 5 times. And then I pop a piece of nicotine gum and work until I'm ready to do my next hit. Because if you've never used Kratom before, and especially the powder, or exclusively the powder, because if you're using the pills, you don't taste it. But if you're doing the powder like I am to try to save a little bit of money, it is the most foul-tasting bitterness you'll ever experience. It will make you gag, and it's horrible. But the effects are opiate-like. I'm just being completely honest with you, folks. It's opiate-like. It calms you. It takes away that sense of dread and terror that you might have, that your whole life is wasted and you're doing everything wrong. And you can work for quite a long time on the kind of calmed feeling of Kratom. So I've been using Kratom every day. I try to take a day off a week to help with tolerance and that kind of thing. But if you've ever had the feeling before that I'm anti-drug, hopefully this dispels that for you. I'm not anti-drug. I am anti-death. I'm anti-hurting yourself. And so I think a lot about that and what is the best fit for me. I've been able to go from 260 pounds down to 210 pounds. I've been sitting at 215 for about the last month and a half. I want to lose more weight. And so I've been looking closely at all the different things that I'm doing that might be preventing me from losing more weight. I tend to eat 2 meals a day. Both of them would be ground beef with sour cream, cheese, a little bit of hot sauce, which is another cheat, but I love hot sauce. I eat that twice a day, typically. Sometimes when I'm out and about, I don't have like the full dairy onslaught. And I think dairy, if I'm being honest, is probably what's holding me back. They talk a lot about dairy being what a cow eats when it is trying to gain weight and become an adult cow. So calves drink milk from their mom's udders. That's dairy. We're incorporating that into the adult body, and that's probably what keeps you from losing fat. So I've been thinking about switching over to what they call the Lion Diet, and that would be salt and beef. Getting rid of the nicotine gum, getting rid of the kratom, getting rid of the hot sauce, and just eating beef and salt until I'm satisfied. Satisfied. Till I'm full. Seeing if that can help me lose a little bit more weight. Because what I've noticed is every time I have dropped weight, I have been able to keep the weight off doing the things that I'm doing. So it's like I'm able to do a focused blast on losing some weight, then return to my eating habits, which include the kratom and the dairy and the hot sauce and the nicotine gum, and maintain that weight. It's almost as if the body is able to reset every time it loses weight, because I get down to that point and then I have to fight to get there. But once I'm there, I just return to whatever feels comfortable to me and I eat that amount. So I've been thinking about doing a Lion Diet. I really, really want to get down below 200 pounds. I feel like that's where I am best suited to be me, really active. All of my joints feel better. Everything feels better. So I'm going to work on that and try to get there. But I'm also cognizant of just what it feels like to be me. And right now I'm struggling. Like I said earlier, I'm sick, so I'm really cold right now. I've got the hood on, and I had a great week last week. So I want to talk to you about what's going on with last week, because I think it was a bit of an outlier, and I don't expect it to happen every time, but I do want to talk about it. So every episode that I've been doing for a while, I've really been talking about social media and how I'm building and what's going on. And social media last week was great for me. I grew quite a bit. So right at this exact moment, I am at 836 followers on Instagram. I never take a tally of what I was at the last time I recorded an episode, but there was a fairly significant growth. I think right around 40 to 50 followers from last time to now. And a big part of that came from doing the Elkhorn Craft Fair. I wasn't expecting it, but let me talk to you about the Elkhorn Craft Fair. This is a local event for me. Elkhorn is a suburb of Omaha. It's one of the last few areas in town that hasn't been annexed. Elkhorn is big enough that it's able to not be annexed by Omaha. Look at the political sphere if you want to understand what that means. But Elkhorn is still its own thing. They had a craft fair. I was there. I sold 50 books, which, if you listen to this podcast enough, you know that 50 books in a day is better than just about any single day I've done ever. And it was on a Saturday, and it was a 6-hour show. It was beautiful. I met so many people and had great conversations, and it just never died. From the moment they started to the moment they ended, I sold a book at $2.55 and we ended at $3. I actually sold 2 books at $2.55 and it ended at $3. It was just like constant, and people were local, and we were talking about Omaha, and I was able to share, like, yeah, there are scenes that happen here at Block 16. There are scenes in this book that happen at Dos de Oros Taco Truck. There are scenes in book 3 that happen at the zoo. There are scenes in book 2 that happen at Leo's Diner, R.I.P. May you never be forgotten. It was so wonderful to talk with a local crowd. I very rarely get that chance. And so I want to do more local stuff, because I recognized that being local, we got to talk about this town, and that was really exciting. And I've intentionally written the Luke and Time mysteries so that they're happening in Omaha. And I've missed out on the opportunity to talk about the local aspect when I go out of town. Nevertheless, really good show. A lot of people followed me. And as a consequence of that, I had the opportunity to sell some digital stuff. So people would buy like book 1, and I actually got sales on Kindle because of this, or at least I believe because of this. I don't think it's what I'm doing on Instagram, which means I do need to focus on Instagram, because I'm still not seeing sales driven by that. But I had 3 digital sales this week, which is 2 better than any single week since I've been doing this focus. Really excited about that. Books 3 and books 4 of the Luke in Time Mysteries sold on Kindle or on Amazon, which tells me that it's somebody who was at my show and bought book 1 and 2 physically, liked those books, and went back and bought book 3 and book 4. Very excited about that. Then I also had the Stories of Bogey that was purchased by somebody I know for sure that I met at Elkhorn. And so those are my 3 digital sales. And instead of coming from Instagram, they came from the Elkhorn Craft Fair. Really happy about that. Well, okay, let me make the caveat. I don't know for sure that book 3 and 4 on Amazon were actually from the Elkhorn Craft Fair, because I had all those books available. So it could have been somebody who bought book 1 and 2, read them, loved them, bought them. But either way, it was somebody who bought from me at a show, because you don't dive into a series with book 3 and 4. At any rate, really happy with that. Physical sales led to digital sales. That is a huge piece of the puzzle. If I can get more people buying into my books, loving my books, and then buying the rest of them digitally, that helps a ton. So I'm pretty excited about that. But it does mean that Instagram needs to change. So one thing that I'm thinking heavily about this week is I'm going to start doing a series on Instagram. And my guess is it won't work well at first, but maybe it will work well in the long term, is doing right first thing in the morning. Hey guys, this is Jody, and I just wanted to let you know I've got the Luke in Time Mysteries. This is day 1 of letting you know the books are out there. If you want to get to know me, this is what the books are about. You can grab them here. And that is what I'm going to focus on. Pardon the train in the background right now. Small town, trains come through all the time. I want to figure out a kind of a scheduled, systematic way to do a reel every day, day 2, day 3, day 4, and really talking about the books and not doing much more, and just letting people know they're out there and leaving them a way to get those books. Because I think that over a period of time, familiarity with that format might actually drive purchases. But it needs to be something where I don't expect anything to happen for the first month or 2. Just day 38. Day 65. And then maybe eventually people see that and they're like, interesting, I want to check that out. Because what I've been thinking is all of my creative energy and effort should be going into the books. And everything that I'm doing on social media should be a byproduct of writing the books. If I'm creating for you outside of that, then I am stealing from the main goal. So I need to figure out more ways to highlight what's happening with the writing itself. And I need to force myself to write more. So that's what I have been thinking about this week. When I say everything but the kitchen sink this week, that's me talking about my diet. That's me talking about book sales. That's me talking about social media. That's me talking about the fact that in order to do this, there are 1,000 things you have to focus on. And if you focus on all of those things and you don't let any of the balls drop, hopefully eventually you start to see progress. Don't let anything drop. Now, the second piece that I want to talk about is the Mike Tyson fight. My wife actually got annoyed with me because I was sending her so many reels about the fight through Instagram. At night, I would sit down, I would be trying to gather social media for my posts and make sense of the world, that kind of thing. I try not to be a consumer as much as a participant, and then at the highest level, a creator. But we watched the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight, and we were one of the lucky ones who didn't really have any disruptions. We started watching from the very beginning of the fight. And maybe that's why, maybe Netflix prioritized people who were already streaming or started streaming from the beginning. I can't tell you. Either way, we were able to watch the whole fight. We had a few buffering moments, but for the most part, we got to watch everything from fight 1 to fight 5. And I was so excited to see Tyson match up against Paul. I really thought he had the experience, the strength, and the ability to kick some serious butt. And I went to bed feeling like my boxing hero from my childhood was washed up and he just didn't have the strength to do it. Over the following days, my thought process started to shift, and I thought, yeah, I'm watching replays of moments where it looked like he was ready to throw a punch and held back, where it looked like he was ready to feint and actually took a hit. Why was he biting his gloves so much? And I had prepared a reel that I never actually posted of him talking to a young girl and saying that legacy is BS. And I thought a lot about this fight. And I believe that Mike Tyson did what was best for Mike Tyson, which was he took a $20 million payday by not knocking out Jake Paul. And I thought about myself, and I thought, what do we do when the legacy that we want for ourselves is in conflict with the money that we can provide for ourselves and our family? Do we start to write toward market? Do we start to behave in such a way that we take payment over excellence? I don't have the answer. I think I'll talk about that on a future episode, layered in here and there. But I was really sad with the outcome. I'm a big Tyson fan. I actually am a Jake Paul fan as well. I think what he's doing is really impressive. He has conquered social media and created a lot of wealth and attention for himself. But in the boxing arena, I think Tyson was the better guy. So I feel sad still that he didn't walk away with the win. We'll talk to you again next week. Keep it real, get writing, get selling some books.
Becoming a household name won't happen overnight, but with your help, it can happen for me or for anyone you know who's on this journey. If you liked what you heard today, would you consider sharing this podcast with someone you know would love it too? Word of mouth is the single biggest difference maker for a dreamer's outcome. Thanks again for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.